Yo, everyone, and welcome to this exclusive series of Scotch Tapes, your one-stop virtual whiskey tasting shop where we aim to take you to some of Scotland's most iconic distilleries virtually. My name is Ervin Trykowski, Diageo's Global Scotch Whisky Ambassador, and over the coming months, I'm going to be taking a journey across the four corners of Scotland to experience Johnnie Walker distilleries through immersive and interactive whiskey tastings. Now, today we're going to be kicking off with our first in the series, and we're going to be going to one of Scotland's most famous whiskey regions. I am, of course, talking about Speyside, and specifically to Cardhu, the Speyside home of Johnnie Walker. We're going to be taking a walk through Cardhu, both historically and as a distillery tour, and taking a closer look at the craft and innovation that make this such an iconic distillery. Now, we are broadcasting globally, which is pretty cool. And please let me know in the chat where you are watching from. Subtitles are also available if anyone is struggling with my accent. If you have any questions, chat, or comments, please pop them in the same section. We're keen to make this as interactive as possible. Also, we are going to be inviting you guys to taste today, also to listen to some incredible music and to follow along with the music section, what I'm going to be picked to go with perfectly with the drams. You can check out the playlist, which is available on Spotify, and for ease, I think there's going to be a link in the chat, and there's also a link in my Instagram bio if you want to go and check that out. Okay, so we are going to be going to Cardhu, and we're going to be talking about this distillery has a history like no other. There are so many incredible little tales and things that you hear when you visit the distillery. So I want to bring a little bit of that to you guys today. This is a story of triumph in the face of adversity, driven by two extraordinary women, Helen Cummin and her daughter-in-law, and one of her successors, Elizabeth. It's bravery and cunning and remarkable foresight that these two women created whiskey, which is still cherished 2 centuries on. The story began in 1811 when Helen and her husband John leased a farm on the site. Their trade at that time would have been barley, it would have been cattle, but the real fuel in their fire was illicit whiskey. In those days, legal distilleries were heavily taxed, okay? And farmers like the Cummings would have struggled to make ends meet. They had all the raw materials that they needed to distill at the farm, but they couldn't afford to pay for the license. So like many others across Scotland, they found ways to overcome the hurdles, okay? Helen turned the act of evasion into an absolute art form. The stories of her ingenuity are now legendary. The taxman would arrive at the door while she was making whiskey, and she would give herself a dusting down with flour and fearlessly welcome them in, and telling them simply that she had been baking. Okay, these kind of stories of her ingenuity, they literally knew no bounds. And when it came to beating this taxman that was coming to get the money. Now, this gave them the chance to listen in on conversations, to win their trust. And while they were eating their supper, they would sneak out and raise the red flag over the barn as a warning to the neighbours in the community that the enemy had arrived. The flag today is still a crucial part of our identity. It's displayed proudly on our packaging and in the label. It also flies at the distillery itself as a reminder of Cardhu's history and nods to the strength and ingenuity of the family who founded it. Helen had the bravery to carry Cardhu through the early years, but it was very much her daughter-in-law, Elizabeth, who presented this kind of vision for the future. The statue that we just saw there is Elizabeth, with the flag representing Helen, her mother-in-law. And I think you all know who the other gentleman there is. Now, if Elizabeth secured the Cardhu legacy, secured the Cardhu legacy, John Walker and Sons had begun traveling across Scotland, forming personal relationships with these distillers and building a pretty big stock of whiskey that is now the largest in the industry. Now, this would have come from many different distilleries. Cardhu would have been a stop on their journey, and it was an encounter with Elizabeth that would have kind of lit that spark, and the Walkers decided to take their next significant step on their journey, okay, becoming distillers as well as brokers, blenders, and exporters of Scotch. This happened, of course, when they purchased Cardhu in 1893. Now, the distillery character at Cardhu is a style that is revered as both a single malt and also as a key ingredient when you are going about creating a blended whiskey. Blenders would have sought after this kind of style. It's a key in all expressions of Johnnie Walker and numerous other blends. But Johnnie Walker obviously brings together whiskies from the four corners of Scotland, and Cardhu is the Speyside home, but it really is the one that is at the beating heart of Johnnie Walker, and it is such an integral part of our story, both historically and from a flavour profile. Now, been talking about 5 minutes, so it's time to taste. If you have a bottle of Cardhu 12 or any delicious Cardhu at home, pour yourself a dram, as I already have, and join in. Now, we are going to be showing you around the distillery, and we're going to be playing some music, but we wanted to let you try some of the spirit neat before we go on to make it in such delicious cocktails like we're going to do a little bit later on. Also, if you have any Johnnie Walker Black Label, any ginger ale, any limes, any soda water, go and grab them, because we're going to be using them all in a little bit. Now, if you hover your nose over the glass, okay? Very important, don't stick your beak right in it, okay? Just hover over the glass, keep your nose open and inhale, okay? Now, the first thing that gets you with Cardhu is that sweet orchard note. This is what this distillery is renowned for producing. It has an incredible cereal spice, and there's kind of this incredible real sweetness there as well. It's like honeyed vanilla. Apples and pears come through at every single point of when you're nosing it. It is the theme that brings all of this together. It's incredibly sweet. It's mixtures of fresh red, fresh green apples, pears, and even through to jam and red fruit. This is an incredibly fruity whiskey that is a great place to start if you're new to single malt, or very enjoyable for people that are experts as well. On the palate, more of the same. It's very, very, very fruity. It's very bright. It has a really, really, really nice, gentle mouthfeel with a lingering spice on the back. Okay, it's warming, but not too heavy. It's light, it's floral. That sweetness really comes through, and I start to get more of the kind of maturity notes that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Those kind of vanillas all the way through to coconuts. It's like a sweet spice. This is very enjoyable jam, neat, but you can see why it will work so well in many of the different cocktails that you'll be serving in your bars. Now, Johnnie Walker is incredibly proud of Cardhu, and you'll see how important the distillery and the liquid are to the world's most iconic whiskey in a little bit. And also I'm going to show you my favourite part of the distillery as well. But at Scotch Tapes, we do like to get people to enjoy their whiskey in a number of different ways and in a number of different environments, and listening to a number of different musics. Now, music. Now, we can't play the music on this, obviously, because of copyright, but this is one that Ewan has picked out, and he reliably informs me that the lady pictured is Rachel Samani, who is from Speyside. You can get the link on my Instagram page through the Spotify playlist and listen to the tracks in your own time. But this is a beautiful kind of melancholic, slow, gentle, it's slightly happy and haunting at the same time, which is really, really, really nice, very uplifting, and it works perfectly next door to this kind of gentle white single malt whiskey. Now, before we go through the distillery, we are going to take a look into the magical brand home that we have built at the front of it, because it really is very, very, very impressive. Now, Cardhu is available all over the world, okay? And at this fantastic retail space at the distillery, you can buy a whole number of different Cardhu expressions, including limited edition Four Corners bottle, which is only available at the distillery. And you have the opportunity to fill your own bottle of, from the cask, of Cardhu 11-year-old. It's bright, it's airy, it's welcoming, it's friendly, things are done in flavour, everyone talks in normal language. It is a world away from the distilleries and brand homes of the past. It's super, super inviting. Next door to the retail, the door on the left-hand side that you saw there leads us through to the kitchen, which is probably, I mean, Stillhouse is always your favourite, but kitchen is going to be close second here. The kitchen is this incredible welcoming space. Now, Helen would have sold whiskey from the kitchen window, and it's now been replaced with this incredible tasting kitchen space where you can enjoy Cardhu in a number of different ways, from drams to delicious highballs paired with kind of exceptional food. And it's amazing. The drinks are blinding. The guys, the staff are amazing. It's a really, really, really nice place to sit and enjoy a whiskey or enjoy a cocktail. The drinks are absolutely stellar. It's a really, really, really great experience. And we're going to show you in a little bit one of the drinks that they make there that you guys will be able to make at home or in your bars. Okay, I promised the distillery tour. So we are now going to take a walk through Cardhu and to talk about the different parts of the process and to understand what is unique about this liquid. So Cardhu is in the fruity side of whiskey. Okay, it is not smoky. It is very light and it's very approachable. So we start with barley, okay, which has been malted. Now, I keep using single malt, okay? So we're going to say the quick definition of that. So single means made at one distillery. The distillery is here at Cardhu. And malt means made from malted barley, okay? So we take our malted barley, which is dried, not with peat, but with hot air, so we get a non-smoky style. The barley is put through a mill. These mills are kind of incredible big rollers, and the barley gets pushed through them and broken down into what we call grist, okay? This the mill that we have at Cardhu is a Porteous mill, which is the mill that you will often see in Scotch whisky distilleries. They're a very, very, very iconic symbol of Scotch. We have our ground down barley, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to put it in this guy. This is a mash tun. 2 to 3 different temperatures of water are put in here, which helps us get access to the sugars that are inside, okay? At this point, we have a kind of warm, sweet liquid. It's very sugary, it's very spicy, and it smells a lot like cereal. There is no alcohol at this point, okay? There is no ABV, but there is a point where it can impact the flavor depending on how fast you move the rake round inside. Slowly relates to fruity, fast will give you more of that real nuttiness, okay? So this is the first point where the first and second point where we dictate the flavor that we are looking for. So everything at all points of the process is to produce something that is light and fruity and approachable. Now, the drinks that are on offer at Cardhu are absolutely incredible, and I wanted to showcase my favourite drink, which is the Spirit Safe Soda. So we're going to swap to Mixology Jam. Whoa, look at that. And now this drink is a highball in style, and it is 2 different types of soda and Cardhu. Everything in it, like a great cocktail, is there to make the spirit, the Cardhu, the hero. Okay, and this is a story of one place in the distillery, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. There's a staircase as you walk down the still house just before you come up to the spirit safe where the new make is collected. And as soon as you walk down these stairs, you get this incredible hit of kind of pear drop, like kind of pear boiled down with sugar into sweets, okay? It's incredibly, it just hits you. Like, and we wanted to pull that element out and create in a cocktail so that we could tell the story in our amazing kitchen area. So we're going to start with a highball glass, which is here. And then we are going to add our Cardhu 12-year-old delicious fruity single malt whiskey from Speyside, and we're just going to pop it into our highball glass, 50 mils. Now we're then going to add our ice, and with a highball it is important to use as much ice as you can physically fit in the glass, and then we are going to add some more again at the end. Now here we're adding 2 different types of soda, both are shop bought. So there's a Pear Soda, which is just going to pull that apple notes right to the front, apple and pear notes right to the front. If you can't get Pear Soda, apple soda works just as well, depending on where you are joining from. And then just top with soda, not quite up to the very tippity top. and then we are just going to give that quick lift. Just lift everything together. Don't stir it. You don't want to take all the fizz out. And then we're just going to add some more ice on top, just so we don't have any gap at the bottom, because we want the first sip to be as great as the last. And then we're going to add our garnish, which is a pear slice. Which is going to look amazing once it goes in. Sweet. Look at that. Mixology camera. Amazing. Okay. So that is our Stillhouse highball. So everything in here reflects a great single malt cocktail. Okay, it is highlighting things that are already there and accentuating them and making that the hero. Okay, now this is, we have mixed with, or I picked this one. This is music is to pair with it that you can find on the playlist, which is on the Spotify link. It's the only ones, Another Girl, Another Planet. It's like Scotch whiskey, but on a different planet. It's kind of really fun, really rocky, not what you would expect in the Scotch whiskey playlist. Okay, moving on, we're going to go into fermentation. But if you have any questions of anything that we are talking about, pop it in the chat. And I will answer them either as they come through or at the end. Okay, now we're going to take a closer look at fermentation, and we're going to talk about the kind of craft that goes in to producing this style of single malt whiskey. In fermentation, you want to take the sugars that you've got in the last section, and you want to you're going to add yeast, and you're going to start to turn them into alcohol. Now this happens here in our tun room at Cardhu. Now these vats, which are as we come through the door, actually go down 4 or kind of 5 stories. They're very, very, very tall. They hold about 50,000 litres. Now, first of all, your wort from the mash tun is cooled down. It's then piped into one of these, and then you add yeast. Yeast is going to help create alcohol. Okay, it is going to eat the sugars and create essentially a strong beer. Now here at Cardhu, we ferment, we do a long fermentation because we want to start to get those fruity notes through, much like what we were doing in the mash tun by running everything slowly. We want to push it a little bit longer to make it extremely fruity. By the end of this, essentially, you have a beer. Okay, at this point, it's not very different to a brewery. It is different from a lot of different whiskies in one way. The fact that we are fermenting for longer will mean that we're getting kind of green fruit. We're going to get apples. We're going to get pears. After 46 hours, you've generated all the alcohol that you're going to get. Okay. After that, you're going to start to get those fruity notes developing, which are key to Cardhu. So we push those fermentations, I was going to say a little bit longer, but an awful lot longer. Now, to bring that to life, I want you to take your Cardhu that you had earlier on. I want you to pop a tiny splash of water in it, or even a big splash. It's up to you. Now, what this does is it will open up some of the aromas. Now, you see people doing this with Scotch whisky all the time. This is nothing new, but with Cardhu, it really makes those fresh fruit pop. It sweetens them up. It becomes much, much, much fresher. It becomes pretty approachable on the nose. Interestingly, this is how a lot of our blenders will analyze. They nose at like 20%. Okay. And most importantly, it's still Cardhu. This is a great way to enjoy it. You can still get that fresh fruit note, you still get the sweetness, and you still get the spice. Now, with that in mind, we've got picked you another song. And this is kind of like these artists, Jay and the Techniques, have wrote a song about the tasting notes found in Cardhu. And the song's called Apples, Peaches, Pumpkin Pie. It's a kind of Motowny kind of absolute jammer. It's very, very, very fast. It's very fun. And the lyrics speak perfectly to Cardhu with a tiny drop of water in it. So that is Apples, Peaches, and Pumpkin Pie. If you want to check that out, jump into the playlist link, which is in my Instagram page. Okay, next up, we've got our beer. Okay, and we're going to turn it into new make Scotch, new make whiskey. Okay, now here we're going to do this in the still house. This is kind of the iconic still house at Cardhu Distillery. It's pretty impressive kind of cathedral of copper to walk into. You have your spirits and your wash stills here on your left-hand side. The first thing that you all notice is they are extremely tall. So generally in Scotch whisky, to generalize, we distill our spirit twice. Okay. Now, depending on the shape and size of the still will depend on the amount of copper that the spirit can interact with. Okay. This essentially what copper does is it pulls out impurities. Okay. The higher your still, the lighter the spirit that you're going to get out at the end. The alcohol has to work harder to get up to the top. These are extremely, extremely tall stills, and they will lead to a whiskey that is fragrant and fresh. Here you have the spirit safe, which is where the new make is being collected. So in a wee minute, you're going to see future Cardhu ready to go in to the cask. When you are standing in front of the spirit safe, this is what I was talking about earlier on. It's a pure hit of pear drop. This is where you get an idea of what this whiskey is going to end up like. Now, this whiskey, this style of whiskey is key when you're making blended Scotch whisky, and it has been key to the Walkers for many different, for many years. So next up, we're going to celebrate that, and we are going to taste some Johnnie Walker. So if you have any Johnnie Walker Black Label or any other Johnnie Walkers, pull one out, pour yourself a delicious glass like I have, and follow along with me. Also, let me know what Walker you are drinking if you are enjoying it. Okay, so now blends take a portion of different single malts and a portion of grain whiskies, which are lighter and sweeter, and they blend them together. Okay, so Cardhu, one distillery, a product of one place, a product of its people, a product of its community, blends a product of Scotland as a whole. Okay, by definition, because of the number of distilleries that are in them and the addition of grain, they will be rounder. Okay, it will be harder to pick out specific flavor profiles. I often find with blends that because of this, it's very, very different every single time that you go through it. Now, we say that Johnnie Walker is a blend of the four corners of Scotland, okay? And we highlight four specific corners, Cardhu being our Speyside home, which gives that incredible fruit note. If you go up to the Highlands, the green fruit falls away and you start to get this incredible tropical fruit note from distilleries like Clynelish. If you think about the west coast of Scotland whiskies, you think peat, you think iodine, you think kind of coastal, and that comes from Killua. And in the south, we have both our grain whisky distilleries and our lowland home, which is at Glenkinchie in Edinburgh, which we're actually going to be visiting on this platform in December. On the nose, all of these things jump out. Every single person that's on here will be getting something completely different. For me, today, I'm getting a lot more of that kind of sweeter note, kind of like a wine note, grapes. Light kind of smoke is always in there. So the smoke is the thread that runs through all Johnnie Walkers. And then a real kind of touch, that kind of creamy sweetness that we're speaking about from the grain whiskies. Okay, on the palate. It's fruity. It's round. Obviously, because we've been tasting Cardhu, the fruit is what I'm getting the most of. Next time, it might be something different. Lots of real sweetness, lots of kind of butterscotch, lots of those kind of vanillas and toffees and all those American oak and grain whiskey notes that you would expect to get. And then at the back, you get this incredible kind of like burning ember of smoke. It's like this real kind of string. It's this real kind of thing that pulls you back in. It lengthens the finish out and it makes all the other notes pop out. This whiskey for me is textures, it's layers, it's so complex and so many different fabrics woven together. And there, for me, there's no kind of real song that sums it up quite like Star Guitar by the Chemical Brothers. The video just reminds me of enjoying this and how different things pop up at the perfect time and how it continues to build kind of sonically and visually is amazing, and it very much reminiscent of enjoying a Johnnie Walker Black Label, and whether it be in a cocktail and a highball or neat as we just have there. So hopefully you guys are all enjoying it. If you are, let me know and come back with how you like to drink it. Now, we have our new make Cardhu, back to Cardhu now, so back to single malt, and we want to eventually put it in a bottle like that. It says Cardhu 12, which means that every bottle, every cask that goes into the blend will have to be matured for at least 12 years. So this is going to happen here in our warehouse, which is just coming on. Now in these barrels, we have maturing stock. So essentially what happens is when the weather gets warmer and colder, the spirit will go in and out of the barrel. They will take from the spirit, it will remove impurities, and the barrel will also add flavors. Depending on the type of wood that the barrel is made from and what it has held in the past will dictate the flavors that are imparted on the whiskey. From American oak casks, you get things like vanilla, toffee, butterscotch, popcorn, creme brulee. They have been generally used for the bourbon industry in America. In the other side of it, the European oak could have held wine, it could have held sherry, it could have been seasoned with a certain thing. And from that, you tend to get these richer, riper notes, dates, prunes, sultan has rich, ripe notes, kind of all the way through to tannins. Different casks will be pulled together to produce both Cardhu, and then some of these casks that you have here will also go into blends alongside like whiskies from the other Four Corners sites. That's Cardhu, Clynelish, Glenkinchie, and Caolila. Now, blenders are extraordinary humans. They take a number of different casks and they blend them together into a consistent product, be it a single malt or a blend, and they marry casks together to create a consistent product every time. I always liken it to like painting a masterpiece, but the color palette keeps changing because every single time you stick new make into a cask, you never quite know what's going to happen. The oak is organic. Every single cask is different, and they manage to create these ridiculously consistent products that end up in the four corners of the world, all through the power of nosing and tasting. Okay, it is absolutely insane. Now, Scotch whisky is enjoyed across the world in a number of different ways. Wherever you find Scotch whisky, it's mixed in a new and innovative way, and depending on what is available locally, depending on people's palates, it's always different. And it's incredible being able to go and visit it and seeing kind of Scotland's gift to the world in its natural habitats. I always like to say it's like from the four corners of Scotland to the four corners of the world. It ends up absolutely everywhere and enjoyed by an enormous amount of people in a number of different ways. So it is important that when we are talking to people about Scotch whisky, we do it in a way that is welcoming and it's inclusive, and we ask about how they like to enjoy their whisky. Do they like to have it neat? Do you like to have it as a highball? Do you want to have it as a cocktail, like an old-fashioned or something? So I wanted to make for you one of my favourite highballs, which is Johnny and Ginger. The two are just absolutely made for each other. It is something that is available pretty much everywhere. Someone will have some sort of ginger, whether it be ginger ale, ginger beer. It can be customized. You can make your own ginger beer with ginger cordial. You could make this drink in a number of different ways, and every single one that I've ever had, wherever I've been in the world, has been absolutely amazing. So we're going to start up with 50 mils of Johnny Walker Black Label. Back to mixology cam. Straight into our highball glass. Da-da-da. Tremendous. Look at that. And then we're just going to add ice. Again, same as with the Cardhu highball earlier, up to the very tippy top. Okay. Then we're just going to add our ginger. Don't top it all the way up to the top, just off the top there. You can always add more. Break my own rule. And then we're just going to pull this all up here. Oops, mixology cam. Probably isn't a friend there. Actually, more ice, so there's no gap at the bottom at all, and so it is absolutely delicious all the way up to the end. And then we're just going to add lime. Some people like lemon, depending on what your preference is. That's all good and up to. So that is our Johnny and Ginger highball. But to enjoy such a drink, we are going to have to play more music. So I would recommend when you have your Johnny and Ginger later on this evening or tomorrow or whenever it is that you're having it, you enjoy it with this song because it is an absolute belter. It is Candy Statin. You've got the love. Would be recommended. You can find the playlist on my Instagram through the link in my bio. Sweet. All right, so that is all we've got time for today. I'm pretty sure that I have ran on time for a change, which is nice. But we have some questions coming in, which is nice. Okay, first one that came in. Favorite way to enjoy Black Label. This is one of them. There's also just, it is always going to be the highball for me. Works spectacularly well as part of an old fashioned. Anything that's really easy to make at home. Like it's a bit of a faff making syrup, and it's great fun making syrups and things, but something that's just really two mixers. And when you find two ingredients, and when you find something that works spectacularly well, then there are then it works really well. There's rhubarb soda that I really like with this, and there's a strawberry soda from a company in Scotland called Rapsky, which I really like as well. But yeah, there will be other ones available in your market as well. Favorite way to drink Cardhu on ice at home is how I drink an awful lot of my single malt. Just literally like packed glass, lots of ice on it, and just a measure over the top. It's absolutely delicious. People are really funny about it because it pulls. It restricts the nose, and people are like, you can't smell anything anymore. But there's so much more to just nosing whiskey than enjoying it. Like you gain texture, you gain an idea of the body, when you add it with ice, and everything just changes. So yeah, that's my favorite way to enjoy it. Also when on holiday as well. How many variants of Cardhu are there? Loads. Loads to different explore. There are lots of different in the core range from the 12 all the way up to 18. You also have some that don't have age statements on it, like the Black Rock and the Amber Rock. And you also have various different expressions that are released in things like the special releases. Every year, you'll get these kind of really cool expressions with cool cask finishes and things that pop up every year, and there are lots available at the distillery only. So if you are able to get across and see it, I would absolutely recommend it and pick yourselves up some unique bottles there. What is my most popular variant of Cardhu? I love the 18, which is why it's in arm's reach. You don't see it very often, and it's absolutely amazing. It's so rich, and that is something that I would just have as a wee sipper. Okay, I'd probably just have it next to some delicious food, some ice cream or something for dessert. It is incredibly complex, incredibly rich. You've still got all that orchard fruit notes. Like often 18 years is a long time in the barrel, and to still have that kind of real freshness is kind of testament to the very, very, very skilled crafts people that make it. So yeah, it's 18-year-old for sure. Right, that is all the questions, I think. But thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me on Instagram is probably the best way. But thank you so much for your time. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode, which is Cardhu, which is our first stop on our Four Corners tour of Scotch tapes. I'm going to be back again in December for the next episode, about the same time a month. But you can check out more information on the DBA page. I'm going to be taking you all to the Scottish Lowlands to show you another iconic distillery in the form of Glenkinchie, which is super exciting, just south of Edinburgh. Okay, guys, thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you all then.